I've been camping alone in the deep woods every fall since I was 22. Seriously, it's my thing. I know what real silence sounds like out there. But the morning I woke up and my best friend, Luke, had vanished from a tent zipped from the inside, man, that silence had a weight to it, like someone was pressing down on my chest with both hands, trying to squeeze the air right out of me. You've got to stay till the end, because the moment I realized this wasn't an animal, or even some freak accident, that's the moment I stopped being the hunter and became the bait. Three nights earlier, Luke and I parked his beat-up truck at a forgotten trailhead deep in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. No cell bars, no day hikers, just a forecast for crisp air and peak fall color. You know, the kind of vibrant, fiery reds and oranges that make you forget your troubles. We'd been doing these epic bro trips since college, a tradition we swore by. He brings the good coffee, I bring the top-shelf bourbon, and we both bring the dumb inside jokes that only we find hilarious. This trip was special, though. We were toasting to turning 40 next spring, laughing about needing knee braces and maybe even reading glasses for the map. The first night, we reached a ridge overlooking a vast, unbroken canopy of pines. We set up the tent on a needle-thick carpet that smelled like Christmas, and cooked brats over a crackling fire under a sky so clear you could see the Milky Way smeared across it like cosmic paint. It was perfect. We turned in early because, man, 45 degrees eats your calories fast when you're pushing 40. I remember Luke, ever the dramatic one, saying, "If I die in my sleep, scatter me here. This view's unbeatable." I told him to quit being morbid and zip the tent flap shut. That was exactly 9:47 p.m. I checked my watch, because I'm that guy who logs everything. Obsessive, I know, but it's kept me alive through 2 decades of solo trips. It's a habit, a ritual, a part of my survival DNA. I woke at dawn, shivering harder than usual. The cold had really settled in. The tent was dark, still holding on to the last vestiges of night. Luke's sleeping bag lay flat beside me. No big deal, right? Guy probably just went to pee. He does that sometimes, wanders off to find the perfect tree. I rolled over, trying to burrow deeper into my own bag, but then something clicked. His sleeping bag was stone cold. Not just cool, but like it had been empty for hours. My gut tightened. I crawled out, barefoot, expecting to see fresh boot prints in the frost outside. Nothing. Just a single set of mine from the night before. The kind of detail you notice when you've spent years tracking deer, when every disturbance on the forest floor tells a story. I called his name twice. "Luke? You out there?" The forest swallowed the sound whole, like I tossed it into a well. No echo, no birds, not even a squirrel rattling cones in the pines. That's when the first spike of fear hit me, sharp and cold. Wildlife always reacts to human noise. If everything holds perfectly still, if the forest itself seems to be holding its breath, it often means something bigger, something unnatural, is already watching. The wilderness was too quiet, and it was screaming at me. I did what any trained camper does, a quick, methodical grid search of the immediate camp. I was looking for anything, a broken branch, a drag mark, blood, anything to explain this. But there was nothing. His water bottle sat upright by the fire ring, lid screwed tight. His pack, though, was gone. That made sense initially. Maybe he'd just decided to go for an early hike. But then I realized mine was untouched, still leaning against a tree. We always cached our food in my bear can because my pack's frame is bigger, stronger. Why take his and leave mine? Especially with all the shared gear. The logic just didn't track. I scanned the tree line, looking for any sign of passage. No snapped twigs, no scuffs on the moss. It was like the ground itself had inhaled him. I spent 45 agonizing minutes circling wider and wider, whistling the dumb off-key tune we used in college, half expecting him to pop out laughing with his camera, saying, "Gotcha." Nothing. By 7:30 a.m., the temperature had dropped another 5 degrees, and a thick, soupy fog poured in, blanketing everything like cold milk. That's when I finally admitted it to myself. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't funny. Something was catastrophically, terrifyingly wrong. The perfect trip had just taken a very dark turn. I went back to the tent, needing my GPS. My hands were shaking a little, but I forced myself to focus. That's when I saw it. A strip of blaze orange tape tied to the pull cord on the rainfly. Luke hates orange. He always jokes it makes him look like a hunter's target. I carry it for emergencies, for signaling. My stomach flipped over. I knew with absolute certainty that I never tied that there. Someone had been inside our camp, inches from where I slept, and left a calling card. The knot was a perfect highwayman's hitch, a clever, efficient knot. Pull one end and it releases instantly. Only a human with time, calm hands, and a certain deliberate intent does something like that. Suddenly, every survival podcast I'd ever heard, every cautionary tale, started screaming in my head. Human predator. Human predator. Human predator. The wilderness, which was supposed to be our sanctuary, had been invaded. The silence wasn't natural. It was enforced. My mind raced, grappling with two terrible choices. Do I hike the 12 miles out for help, risking precious, irretrievable hours? Or do I stay and track him, potentially walking right into an ambush? Leaving meant losing critical time Luke might not have. Staying meant confronting something I wasn't equipped for, something far more sinister than a lost hiker. It was a gamble either way, but my gut, the same gut that's kept me alive for years, told me to stay. I packed light, stripping down to the absolute essentials. My headlamp, a lightweight poncho, the GPS with Luke's preloaded route, thank God for my obsessive planning, my fixed blade knife, and the bear spray. I left my tent standing, a silent decoy. If someone was watching, I wanted them to think I'd return, to buy myself a little time. My only clue was a faint heel print in the mud near the spring, smaller than my own, pointing northeast. The exact opposite direction of our planned trail. I marked the coordinates, hit record on my inReach satellite communicator, and typed a quick message. Not alone. Following. I didn't hit SOS yet. Pride maybe, or the lingering irrational fear of looking crazy, of being wrong. But deep down, I knew I wasn't. For 2 grueling hours, I tracked prints that appeared and vanished like ghosts on bedrock. The fog thickened, making every tree a looming shadow, every sound a potential threat. Every 10 minutes, I stopped, cupped my ear, straining to hear over my own pounding heart. Twice, I thought I heard a whistle, that same off-key note Luke uses when he's bored, a habit he picked up from some old movie. Both times I answered, waited, and heard nothing but the oppressive silence. At 10:12 a.m., I found the first unequivocal red flag. His beanie, snagged on a low branch. The inner band was soaked in blood, not a splatter but a smear, like someone had wiped a blade clean. My heart jackhammered against my ribs. This wasn't just a disappearance, it was an abduction. I hit SOS on my inReach. The device spun, desperately searching for satellites. No signal. Too dense. Too much tree cover. Too much fog. The wilderness was actively conspiring against me. I kept moving, faster now, ducking under cedar boughs, trying to stay quiet while panic screamed at me to run, to just bolt blindly. Then I smelled it. Wood smoke. Not a distant campfire, but human smoke, close. Predator just lit a fire. That's bold, incredibly bold. I crept up slope, moving as silently as a ghost, until the trees thinned just enough. Below, nestled in a small ravine, was a makeshift camp. It wasn't a typical hunter's setup. A tarp lean-to, a crude ring of stones for a fire, and a trunk-sized log rolled next to it. No tent, no bright, obvious gear. Everything was camouflaged, designed to blend. A man squatted by the fire, his back to me, stirring something in a pot. I couldn't see Luke. I circled wide, using a massive fallen pine as cover, its decaying needles muffling my steps. That's when I spotted Luke's pack, propped against a tree. The zipper was open, contents dumped out. Same with his sleeping bag. It was sliced open, insulation floating around like grotesque feathers. The message was clear, chillingly so. I own your stuff, and soon I'll own your friend. My breath clouded in the cold air, so I pulled my bandana over my face to mute the telltale steam. Knife in my right hand, bear spray in my left. My plan formed. Distract, grab Luke, and run like hell. Then the man turned. I saw his face, mid-30s, clean-shaven, a generic baseball cap pulled low. And the weirdest, most unsettling part, he smirking smiled. A slow, deliberate smile, like he'd been waiting for applause. Like he knew I was there all along. He spoke, not shouting, just a conversational loud enough to carry through the fog. You can come out now. Your buddy's bleeding but breathing. My legs twitched, a primal urge to rush in, but I held back. Classic lure, expose your position. I stayed put, a silent observer. He repeated it, word for word, like a recording. That's when I noticed the fishing line, strung almost invisibly across the only easy path down into the ravine. Tin cans with pebbles, glinting faintly in the diffused light. An alarm system. He wanted me to bolt that way, to trip the cans, to announce my presence exactly where he expected. Instead, I backed uphill, slowly, carefully, looping around to the ridge above him. It took 10 agonizing minutes, my heart hammering against my ribs, each crunch of a leaf a potential betrayal. When I finally peered over the edge again, I saw Luke. He was zip-tied, gagged, his eyes wide with fear and relief. His ankles were tied to a stake driven into the ground. Blood crusted his temple, but his chest was rising and falling. Alive. The guy sat on the log now, a hatchet in his hand, whistling that same off-key tune. Hunting season for people. I had one advantage. He thought I was green enough to panic, to be predictable. He thought wrong. I've built shelters with nothing but birch bark and spite. I wasn't going to be another statistic. I snapped a branch, a sharp, loud crack, and tossed it down slope, opposite Luke's position. The man jerked, his head whipping around, staring intently in that direction. In that split second of distraction, I slid down silently, like a shadow. I cut Luke's ties with a single swipe of my knife, the zip ties parting with a satisfying snap. "Run uphill on 3, I whispered, my voice barely audible. I didn't wait. I hurled the bear spray canister into the ravine's far corner. Thunk, then a sharp hiss, followed by a cloud of capsaicin. Instant confusion. The man started coughing, swinging his hatchet wildly, blindly. 1, 2, 3. We bolted. He chased, but the fog and the pepper spray had shredded his lungs. He was stumbling, cursing, his pursuit quickly losing steam. We crested the ridge, dropping into the next valley. I'd cached water there on the hike in, my obsessive planning paying off again. I knew this terrain like the back of my hand. 2 miles later, we ducked into a dense cedar swamp, stepping only on fallen logs to leave no prints. We hid beneath a massive blowdown, our hearts hammering like sap against the wood. We heard him twice, crashing through the brush, cursing like a madman. Each time, his voice was farther away. Then, silence. We waited an hour, shivering, before I risked the GPS signal. I hit SOS. This time, it blinked. Message sent. Search and rescue reached us by nightfall. They found the predator's camp empty. He'd fled, just as I'd hoped. They tracked him 3 valleys over, a relentless pursuit, and arrested him at a logging road. Turns out, he'd done it before. Lure or grab solo hikers, toy with them, leave no witnesses. Investigators linked him to 2 cold cases in Minnesota. He's serving life now, exactly where he belongs. Luke needed stitches, a minor concussion. He was shaken, but he was alive. I needed therapy. Still go, actually. We both still camp because you can't let the monsters win. But never without overlapping carry permits, satellite check-ins every 6 hours, and a new ironclad rule. If one of us wakes and the other's gone without notice, we treat it like a crime scene, not a joke. Because once you've heard the forest go quiet on purpose, once you've felt that unnatural stillness, you never trust silence again. If you learned something tonight, if this story got your heart pounding, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm humans still beat bots when it comes to good stories. Comment below with the one item you never hit the woods without. Mine's unequivocally a satellite communicator. What's yours? And if you want more true survival stories from the edge, stories that'll make you double-check your tent zippers, then subscribe. That strip of blaze orange tape still sits in my gearbox. I keep it as a reminder. Monsters aren't just in fairy tales. They buy baseball caps, learn bowline knots, and smile like they're waiting for applause. So if you ever wake up and your buddy's gone, the tent zip's still closed from the inside, remember this. The forest didn't swallow them. Someone decided breakfast tasted better with fear. Stay sharp, stay loud, and for the love of all that's wild, never trust the quiet.